We want to make a menu, and to do that I'm going to make another view controller. File, new, file, and this is going to be a view controller. And so view controller, good. This is going to be my color menu view controller, so I'm going to call it color menu view controller. So the name should describe exactly what it does, and I capitalize something larger and click create. I'm also at the same time, file, new, I'm going to make one for my erasers and one for line width as well, just while I'm at it. So file, we'll do exactly the same thing. So Cocoa Touch class, next, this is going to be my eraser menu, view controller, and create. File, new again. This will be my line thickness, so I'm going to call it line menu view controller, like that. Excellent. I'm just going to move my storyboard down below all of this stuff right to there. The storyboard. So I want to go and create 3 new view controllers in the library. And I'm going to put view controller. There it is. Just going to drag 3 of these onto the stage. 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. The first one is going to be my color one. I'm just going to click where it says view controller right there. And I'm going to go over to my attributes inspector. Where it says UI view controller, I'm going to drag that down and I'm going to look for my color menu view controller. There we are. For my next one, this is going to be for my erasers, so I'm going to click on there. Do the same thing, go over into the attributes inspector. I'm going to put eraser menu view controller. For the last one, same thing, click on the view controller, go over here to the attributes inspector. This is for line menu view controller. If we click on that, good, it should go to our line menu view controller. If we click on the next one in the assistant editor, we should see the eraser menu, so that totally works fine. In my assets cassettes, I have put in all my colors, and I've put in erasers. I've built an eraser that's 5 pixels, one that is 10 pixels, one that's 20, one that's 30, one that's 40. I've built lines that are 1 pixel, 3 pixels, that should say 3 pixels, one that is 6 pixels, one that's 10 pixels, and one that's 20 pixels. We have all our colors there. So I've already put in all my little images into our, let's go back into our main storyboard. I'm going to make my buttons for my colors. Let me move these around a little bit, put a little bit of space in between them. Just a little bit of room. Let's move that one over there. Okay, just so I can get to them all. And this is our eraser menu view. And this one is our line menu view. And this one is our color one. So I'm after this one first. I'm going to create a button. I'm just going to go over to my library and button, and I'll just drag that down to here, up to here. That's Identity Inspector, I'm sorry. This is the Attributes Inspector. So in my Attributes Inspector, I'm going to choose the image for that button, and it's going to be the red circle. There it is. It's pretty wide because right here there's an invisible word button. So I'm just going to erase that. Then we have our button. Let me make this a bit bigger. I'm only looking at it 50%. Let's go all the way to 100%. And I'm just going to control drag that to copy it. If you do it carefully, you can get them evenly spaced. I have 8 buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one I'm just going to change to the orange. So right here where it says red, I'm going to change that to orange. And then the next one to yellow, green, blue, and purple, and then white and black. I still haven't made that black one. I'm going to make that black in a couple of seconds. What I'm going to do with these colors is I'm going to just select all these, drag them down a little bit lower. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to control drag into my color menu like that. This is going to be my red pressed function, and it's an action and then connect. I'm just going to erase all of this stuff. We don't need any of that. Just give myself a bit more room. And I'm going to do that for each of the buttons. This is going to be orange pressed and connect and control drag and connect. So that's green pressed, blue pressed. Okay, so we have black, and then onto the green buttons. So in the main storyboard, I'm going to change this one to the black. Let's continue making our pressed thing. So we have green pressed, blue pressed, purple pressed, white pressed, control, drag, black pressed. I'm going to go and get the name of that global variable in the view controller in our paint view. Was it a global variable? No, it is my color and it's not a global variable. I want to make it a global variable because it's inside the paint view. It's between these brace brackets. It belongs to the paint view. So it only exists inside this paint view. To make it into a global variable, I just have to take it outside of those brackets, like up here, for example. I also want my line width and my draw image to be global variables. I want the line width to be a global variable, so I can refer to it outside of the paint view, inside the line width menu. I want the draw image to be a global variable, so the program remembers to draw it. So it remembers what you were working on, so it doesn't get erased when you go to one of your menus. That is now a global variable, and it is my color, is UI color black to start with. So I'm just going to go back to the main storyboard, into the assistant editor. Down here at black pressed, I'm going to say that my color is equal to UI black, that UI color black. And then I want it to move, like once we choose the color, I want it to go back into our drawing. I'm going to make a segue that comes from here into our drawing menu. Let me just shrink this down a little tiny bit, shrink that down. I want to make a segue that's going to come from our color menu back to our drawing view controller. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go control and drag back to our drawing like that. This is going to be a segue, and I'm going to say to present modally. This is our actual segue. I'm going to go over to our attributes inspector right here. The identifier that I'm going to give it is going to go from the color menu to the drawing. So I'm going to say color menu to drawing. Then we're going to refer to this in the code. So I'm just going to copy that. After we pick black, I'm going to put in a thing called a segue. Self.perform segue. This is the one with identifier. And the identifier is going to be what I just copied. Color menu to drawing. And the sender is self, because it's being sent by this view controller, so self. I'm going to copy that code for each of our pressed. So here our color is going to be white, and here our color is going to be purple, and here it's going to be blue. Whoa, 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 whoa. Here, I'll just paste all the codes in. Here it's going to be red, and down here it's going to be orange, and down here it's going to be yellow, and green, and blue. When our color button, I'm going to control click on that button, and it's going to bring us over to our color menu. This is also going to present modally. Let's see how that looks. Let's run that. Here, if I just draw something, and then go to the color menu. We need to prevent that happening. We need to prevent it from sliding up. We want it to kind of fade in. And then if we pick a color like purple, fading out the way it faded out was nice, that's okay. And then if I go to draw something, okay, it's in purple, so that totally works. A couple of things we need to change. I'm going to go back into the main storyboard. And all right, so we're going to go over to here. I'm just going to click on where it says Color Menu View Controller over in our Attributes Inspector. Down here it says Transition Style. It covers the vertical. What we want to do is just cross dissolve. Cross dissolve. It's presentation. We want it to present over the current context. We want the background, like this white background, not to be totally white, but to be kind of transparent. So I'm going to click there. Over here, the background is white. I want to pick custom. I'm just going to go to the opacity. I'm going to make it 50%, so you can enter 50 right there. Let's run that, see how that looks. Let's test it out. I'm going to draw something again. Then when we pick colors, it should just fade in. I wanted this to be somewhat like we want to be able to see this, but as though we're seeing it through something. It's not exactly the way I planned. If I pick a different color, like blue, it fades away. There we go. Then we can draw blue, and then if I go to colors, let's go back to the menu. I'm going to change it to 92% for a second, just to see what that looks like. Okay, we can see the drawing behind it, but we're seeing it through something. Before we didn't see any difference at all. So now you can see that it's kind of, you can barely make out that it says colors down. That's what we want. If I go to a different color like red, And then we draw. Now I want to get my menu for the lines and for the erasers. To do that, this is for our lines. Up here is for our erasers. I'm going to just make another button down here. Go to our library and grab the button. I'm just going to drag it over to here, and I want another one as well. I could just do that again, or I could just duplicate one of these buttons that I have here. That's colors. How about erasers? And lines. I think later on I'm going to change these with icons. I need to zoom out a little bit. This is for lines, and this one's erasers at the top. My erasers, I need to go from here up to there. So I'm just going to control drag from our erasers up to here and present modally. And from our line over to there and present modally. Now I'm going to put my erasers on the screen the same way I put my other button there. I'm just going to go over to here, grab a button. Going to go into the attributes inspector for that button, and I'm going to make the default image into one of our erasers. So 5-pixel eraser, and I'm just going to get rid of the invisible button text beside that. So there's my one button. I'm just going to duplicate that. So Alt and drag, and Alt and drag, and Alt and drag, and Alt and drag, and I think that's enough. I'm just going to make one more just in case. The second button is going to be the 10-pixel eraser, and the next one is going to be the 20-pixel eraser, and the next one is going to be the 30-pixel eraser, and then the final one is going to be the 40-pixel eraser, and so we don't need that last little one. Then I'm going to do pretty much what I did with the colors. It's going to control drag each one of them over to here. We don't need that code. Control and drag into here. This is going to be my eraser pressed. Eraser 5 pixels. Pixels pressed. How's that? For this one, control drag. This is going to be eraser 10 pixels pressed. And eraser 20 pixels pressed. Control drag. And this one is going to be eraser 30 pixels pressed. Finally, this one is going to be eraser 40 pixels pressed and connect. Then back into our one with all the colors for a second, and down here we have our white color, and then we're performing a segue. Let's go back up to the one with the erasers. We're making the color white, and then we're performing a segue. Yeah, I need to make that segue. I haven't made it yet, so we're going to go from up here down to here. So I'm going to control, click, and drag down like that, and let's present that modally. And I have to give this a identity. So in the attributes inspector, its identifier is going to be eraser menu to drawing. I copy that, and then over here in the self-perform segue, I'm going to tell it that that's the segue I want to use. Eraser menu to drawing. Our color is going to be white. We also have to define the actual pen size. So back in our paint view, we had line width. Okay, so back into main storyboard, or I could go directly to our eraser menu. Doesn't really matter, but I'm clicking on that, and so we see our eraser menu here. And so I'm just going to say, okay, the color is white, and we need to put this code before we perform the segue. The segue is basically saying, okay, we're out of here, we're at another window. I don't want to put it after that, so I'm going to put it right before it. I'm just going to say my line width is equal to, and this is the 5-pixel one, so 5. Copy that and paste it everywhere. Right down here, this is going to be 10 pixels. Paste the code here, and this will be 20 pixels. Paste the code here. This will be 30 pixels. Down here, it will be 40 pixels. The only other thing we need to do is we need to make sure that when we come into here, that we're doing the same thing, that it's not overwriting our drawing window. We want to be able to see the erasers and the drawing at the same time. So I'm going to click up here, and I'm going to go over to our attributes inspector and cover vertical. We don't want that. We want it to cross dissolve. Presentation, we want it to be over the current context. Let's see what that looks like. Let's run that. So if I draw something, and then I go to, I'll draw a whole lot of stuff, and then into my erasers. So we can see the erasers, and oh, it's totally erased what we had back here. We forgot to do that thing with the, where I make the background, instead of being white, we're going to go to, just go to custom, and we're going to put that at about 85%. So 85. We draw some stuff, and then we go to erasers. I'm going to pick the middle one first. So we pick the middle one, then they disappear, and then we start erasing. Okay, so that seems to work. Now it's just our eraser isn't round. We need to fix that later on. It certainly works as an eraser, so that works well. If we go to erasers again, and I choose an eraser, it fades in and fades out, and it doesn't disturb our drawing. Then if I choose like the giant eraser, yeah, it totally works. And then we just have to do the lines. Let's make the lines. Same thing, we need to make our buttons, and I need to make a segue to get us back. So the segue to get us back, control click like that. Present modally, we need to give that segue an identifier. We need to give it a name. We're gonna go from our lines to line menu to drawing. Let's copy that. Over here in our line view controller, I'm just going to paste this just temporarily right there. Let's get rid of all that. Let's make our buttons in the library. Right, grab a button, click on the button. In the attributes inspector, its default image is going to be our, we start off with a 1 pixel. There it is, 1 pixel, like that. Back over to here, let me make that a bit bigger. I'm just going to get rid of the invisible text. That needs to be a bit bigger still. Bring it to 100%. I'm going to drag this over to here. I'm going to Alt drag like that. Let's make one more like that. Okay, so the first one is our 1 pixel. The next one is going to be our 3 pixel, which I've named 2 pixel. The one after is going to be our 6 pixel. The one after that, I'm going to make it the 10 pixel one. The one after that is going to be our 20 pixel line. Those are my lines. Need to make the code for them. Control, click on the button, drag into here. Line 1 pixel pressed. Connect. Control drag here. Line 3 pixel pressed. And then this one. Line 10 pixel pressed. And then line, this one's 20, this one must be 10. Did I not? I already made the 10. That one should have been named. Cancel, cancel. If I roll over it, it goes to that one. That should be called 6 pixel pressed. So 6 pixel pressed. Then this one, this is my 10 pixel pressed. So line 10 pixel pressed. Then this one. Line 20 pixel pressed and connect. I didn't like it when I changed the name of this thing. I think I might have to just drag that back to the 6 pixel one like that. We made that segue and I put it right here, line menu to drawing. I'm just gonna go over to, I'm just gonna go back into our eraser menu view controller, copy the code that says the line width and then to perform a segue. Copy that, and then back over to our line menu view controller. The line width on this one should be 1 pixel. The name of the segue is line menu to drawing. I'm just going to copy this code here and paste it there and paste it there and paste it there and paste it, last but not least, there. And here the line width is going to be 20 pixels. Here it's going to be 10 pixels, and here it's going to be 6 pixels, and here it's going to be 3 pixels. So that should do it. Anything else that we need to do? Let's go back into our main storyboard. We need to make this a bit more transparent again. We need to, when we come into the line menu, we have to make sure that we're not doing that cover vertical, but we're cross dissolving. That our presentation is over the current context, and our background color is white, but 85% opaque or 15% see-through, 85%. So I'm going to click here on the background and where it says color white color, I'm going to go to custom and I'm going to just change my opacity to 85 like that. That should do it. Let's see what that looks like. I need to balance these out. They're not evenly distributed. Or this one's a little higher. If we draw something over to the line, I'm going to switch to 1 pixel. Yeah, I'll fade out. Then we can draw a lot thinner. And then if I go all the way up to 20 pixels, there we go. We're getting this weird sort of, that sort of thing happening with the end. I think we need to fix that. We're able to make big, huge, thick lines and thin lines, and we're able to erase stuff. So let's go over to the erasers. So I want to pick that as my eraser. It's not 100% perfect. These ends should be rounded. If I just click, it doesn't really erase. I actually have to move it to get it to erase. There are a few things that we have to repair, but other than that, the menus are working perfectly. And if we go to colors, we can pick purple. There's color. I can go to my lines and pick a nice size line like that. And there we are. All right, that's what we have so far. Have a good day.